Hi, my name's Julie. I'm a professional counselor in South Carolina, and this is my co-therapist, Ed. Do you struggle with emotional reactivity? It is absolutely exhausting. Being responsible for the emotional needs of other people, emotional caretaking, making sure we don't hurt people's feelings, stuffing down our own emotions, putting up with behaviors so we don't have to address them and upset somebody else. All of those things are absolutely exhausting, and we're not supposed to do them. Today, we're going to talk about emotional boundaries. So if you struggle with those things and you'd like to learn how not to do them, sit back with us and we will learn together. Go ahead. So, like many concepts in counseling, we find that there is a bidirectional nature to lessons that we learn, meaning that they feed into one another. As one develops, they grow, and they feed into another and help that develop and grow, which feeds into the other. And so this back and forth, it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. So we can step in with emotional boundaries to learn how to enact these emotional boundaries to help to increase our self-esteem and our identity. But if we also have a strong identity and healthy self-esteem, we are more likely to have better boundaries. And so we work on those things kind of together. Let me see if I can explain this using a couple of different quotes. So from Bowen's Family Systems, the less developed a person's self, the more impact others have on his functioning, and the more he tries to control actively or passively the functioning of others. So if somebody doesn't have a healthy self-esteem, they're going to try to control other people, and they might not even be aware that they're doing it. Family therapist Diane Gearhart said, for example, when one's partner expresses disapproval or disinterest, this does not cause a differentiated person's world to collapse or inspire hostility. Partners with greater levels of differentiation are able to tolerate differences between themselves and others, allowing for greater freedom and acceptance in all relationships. So a strong self-esteem and healthy identity leads to healthy boundaries, which leads to healthy self-esteem and strong identity, which leads to healthy boundaries, and those healthy boundaries lead to increased self-esteem and self-identity. You see where this is going? Creating peace and emotional boundary balloon bubbles will help us in initiating this cycle toward healthier self-esteem and better boundaries. It's challenging and rewarding to do, and there are certain steps that we can do. Remember, without boundaries, emotions of self and others aren't contained. It causes actually increased anxiety, can lead to a deepening of depression, can lead to anger and resentment and powerlessness. So learning emotional boundaries is really important. If we don't have healthy emotional boundaries, then we adopt the emotions of others. We become reactive. We adopt the emotions of others and we take on the stresses of others. And it makes it difficult for us to function in our own activities of daily living. We react strongly and negatively to the emotions or disapproval of others as well, and it leads to people pleasing. So if somebody responds poorly to something I do or say, then I start to do this dance to try to make them feel better because their reaction is upsetting, when my thing that I did might be an authentic action on my part. I end up having difficulty maintaining, believing, and communicating my own emotional reality, because I am so heavily invested in making you feel okay and making you feel okay about me that I don't even understand or I'm able to communicate or understand my own emotions. And remember, that leads to a less healthy sense of self, less differentiation, which leads to, you got it, reduced boundary effectiveness. So how do I start to engage with healthy boundaries? Well, remembering, we need to use the tools that we have been discussing through this series. You need to notice how you're feeling and calm yourself. We need to pause. Remember, Viktor Frankl says, between the stimulus and the response, we need to pause. We need to figure out, how does my body feel in this moment? Do I have a knot in the pit of my stomach? Am I nervous about how you are responding, reacting to me? I might even name the emotion. I might be embarrassed by something that's going on, or I might be afraid about your response and what it's going to be. I need to be aware of how I'm feeling. I need to maybe envision a bubble around myself as well, or maybe because I'm in South Carolina and the balloon was just shut down, maybe a balloon around you. You know, we can all picture a balloon right now. What's inside that bubble or inside that balloon is mine, and what's outside of it is yours. So I need to ask myself, is this mine? Empathy says, I understand how you feel right now, but I don't have to feel it for you. I can understand what you're going through. I can validate your feelings, but I don't have to do anything about it either. So let me describe what it is I mean in this situation. Let's say you have a spouse who goes to work and they have a really difficult day at the office, and they come home and you say, how was your day? And they start going off on all of the things that went wrong that day. And you feel horrible for them, and you start to get angry, and it's really impacting you. And then you start shouting back, I can't believe they did that, and you should have done this, and you should have done that. And your spouse is like taken aback. I know what to do. I don't need you to fix this for me. And then they get upset with you, and you're like, I'm just trying to help. If we can roll it back for a second and think through the situation again. If my spouse comes through the door and I am aware of where I start and where I end, and you come in and I say, how was your day? And you start telling me about your day, and I see that you're angry and I see that you're upset, and I hear about what's going on, and I might say, that really sounds frustrating. I would be so angry with them. And your partner would be like, yeah, I was really angry, and then this happened and that happened. And you can say, again, empathetically, oh my goodness, how difficult that sounds. Wow, what a rough day. Sounds like you might need some time to decompress tonight, right? Empathy says, I understand how you're feeling, but I don't have to feel it for you. I feel different when I walk away from a situation, having validated your feelings rather than being responsible for them. On the flip side, if I'm feeling my feelings really strongly, I can ask for my needs to be met. I can say, I was really upset today by something that happened. I'm dealing with it, but I could use a hug, right? I can journal to figure out how I'm feeling. It's not somebody else's job to make me feel better. If I'm sitting sad on the sofa at the end of the day, and my husband comes in and they say, how are you? And you're like, I'm sad. And they go, oh, and they walk away. And I get angry because they didn't make me happy again. It's not their job to do that. But it is not their job to make you feel better. Those movies where you complete me, you make me so happy, you read my mind and meet my needs before I even ask for my needs to be met, that's not reality. We need to develop our sense of self. We need to be aware of how we're feeling. We need to understand that I'm not responsible for your situation. What am I carrying? I heard it said by another counselor this way. A client came in and they started talking about how difficult their life was in these days. And so the counselor said, well, tell me about what's going on. And they said, well, my friend is going through this, and my spouse is going through this, and my child is going through this. And, they're feeling sad and they're feeling angry and they're feeling frustrated. It's just so difficult. And the counselor said, well, what's your problem with all of this? And they were very confused. You see, the counselor was trying to point out to them that this was not theirs to take on. They could empathetically understand the difficulties that their friends and family members were having, but it wasn't theirs to carry. Emotional boundaries help us not carry that load. They help us to be able to say, this is me and that is you, this is mine and this is yours. I can support you, but I don't have to carry it for you. Hope that makes sense to you. I hope you picked something up from today that you can apply to the coming days. If you learned something today, take just a moment to share this video with somebody that you know and love who might learn something as well. And as you go about your week, pay attention. How do I feel? Is this mine? How can I respond? Thank you so much for allowing me into your lives. I do greatly appreciate you. Hope you join me next time here at Orange Therapy on YouTube, where you are welcome just as you are.